Alright plebs, this is Unbiased History, Byzantium 2, Justinian the Great. Second part of the Byzantium series that Dovehead is doing now. Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. It's 45-minute video, so that's why he took a bit long time this time. He usually uploads 1 or 2 months in, but this time it's a bit longer time, but I like it. If it's good, it's fine. Waiting is worth it, I guess. So yeah, this is about Justinian the Great. I don't know much about Byzantium. I never reacted to any of the videos about Byzantium, even Roman history. I only saw the unbiased history of it, so I don't know how accurate my history is of Rome. But yeah, what the hell. So even with the Byzantium, but I don't know about Justinian the Great only because, you know, lots of the laws that he wrote is still being used throughout the world, and that's just awesome. I mean, people can just conquer lots of places. The only way to, you know, mark your name in the history is invent something like this. So he wrote a lot of laws that was important. This episode is going to be awesome. Obviously, lots of people are saying it on the comments too. So let's say it. Remember, people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast of the playlist like Unbiased History. I reacted to every single video from Dovehead, even the Unbiased History Rome. If you haven't seen that, check out the card. There's a playlist for it. Check out the other playlists too, like Salmonella, Lemino, things like that, Tierzu. And yeah, let's watch this one.
Ah yes, Justinian the Great, here we go. So Justin had just died, Justinian made emperor, and the barbarians invaded the east, right? So before all that, Kavad had counseled with his lord Satan to help him out, and that he did. Khosrau asked for Justinian's rule to be cursed beyond any emperors before. Both knew his potential and were dead set on ruining Christian Rome's resurrection at any cost. As a starter, he conjured a devastating earthquake that ruined Antioch and wrecked its once strong walls. Taking advantage, Kavad raided deep into Syria, capturing 400 nuns and live sacrificing them to their dark deities. You think it's bullshit? Look it up. After this barbaric...
Well, this was damn sure. I get it, this is parody. So he's saying all this Satan and this is all just funny, but still, it's ridiculous how many of these events, even the Roman times, there were lots of storms, there were lots of lightning in here, earthquakes. You know, this natural disaster is taking out people a lot.
Justinian split the eastern legions in 2 armies, the Armenian one under a general named Citus, and the main one under the only, Belisarius. Named Magister Militum, he was assigned a new legal assistant, Procopius, a bitter, hate-filled secularist pleb that hated Justinian. And while he would write mostly true history about his reign, he would also write another version, filled with lies, slanders, and the old resentment all petty men have towards their betters. As for the Sassanids, Kavad tried blackmailing the Romans with the lives of border civilians while gathering a 50,000 strong horde to forever destroy Dara, Belisarius stood nearby with less than half that. For hundreds of years, Roman generals had been cultivating a strong cavalry force, the Bucellari, and under Belisarius they became heavily armed and trained Romans. Well, half of them. The other half were Huns. You heard it right, for Belisarius, just like Aetius, was yet another Roman who commanded the fear of these savages for Rome's benefit. As the Sassanid chieftains...
Yeah, I think after Attila, I mean, they were mostly scattered around, so yeah, it makes sense that they joined them at the time.
Mug insulting letters, Belisarius hanged them to his banner for his soldiers to laugh at. The barbarians then charged, but Belisarius had digged huge trenches to cripple the Sassanid cavalry, had his Huns surging from behind and flanked them. Belisarius slaughtered his fair share and sent the remains fleeing away. Citus had won his own victory in the north, which also infuriated Kavad. He sent 20,000 cavalry to rush in and sack the vulnerable Antioch. Belisarius and his Bucellari intercepted them in time, but here's the thing. Belisarius was one of those great generals that were loved by his soldiers, but deeply, deeply envied by his officers and sub-commanders. So out of nowhere, his pleb officers attacked without orders, got crushed by the Sassanids, and Belisarius worked his magic to prevent a slaughter. Such would become the standard. Thankfully, Kavad had died by then, so the Sassanids pissed off. Belisarius had returned to the capital.
I love how there's a trend every time where, you know, all this Sassanids, or whether it's Goths, Romans, even the Byzantium here, which are Romans, let's be honest. You know, all these are so strong that even with just fraction of the numbers, they just decimates the opposition. Even they have the higher number. So this is just ridiculous. That just shows you who the Chad is in this. Yeah, obviously when you get too loved by your own people, there are going to be just, I guess, people below you who wants to be you and will envy you a lot, who do stupid shit like that. So yeah, it makes sense.
Capital, and Justinian prepared to send Khosrau, now the Sassanid king, east to hopefully cause a civil war. And yeah, he did, but he won it, seized power and sued for peace while he was weak. But there's more. After growing up together with Justinian and Justin swimming in Anastasius' gold, Khosrau devised that the best way to cripple the Romans was to cripple their economy. Khosrau thus demanded 11,000 pounds of shiny yellow rock for agreeing to a peace, but not just any peace, an eternal peace. Justinian agreed on the condition the gold would pay for defenses against the Huns. The Sassanids were really their bitch. Now here's a tough question. How long will this eternal peace last? Who will break it and for what reason? Here are your options.
Oh, come on, just wait a second, let me read it.
Last, who will break it and for what reason? Here are your
8 weeks, Sassanids destroyed Dara. 1,000 years, hell no. Romans, preemptive strike, 10 years, Sassanids killed innocents. 43 minutes, Sassanids pillage. Yeah, 43 minutes, that's just take them to walk, so no way that's happened. 8 weeks is also short. 1,000 years, hell no, they're waiting. So I think 10 years, definitely. This is not hard quiz, is it?
Your options. Speaking of Justinian, he by now held such knowledge of the Christian force he could bend the barbarians to his whim, much like Belisarius of the Huns, using said skill to make one of Theodoric's officers, Mundo, now Mundus, serve him by slaughtering Slavs and Bulgars in the Balkans, later recalling him to replace Belisarius in the east. Justinian indeed began converting and subduing many bordering barbarians, Huns, Slavs, those desert tribes in the southeast, even Goths, Theodoric's own daughter and queen of the Ostrogoths, that is, Amalasuntha, over which Justinian held such sway he convinced her to raise her son like a Roman, but none such subservient barbarian quite compared.
You have to be, striking, image. You have to have a striking image and just striking leader for people to turn like that. I mean, I get it, this is all, this Unbiased history just talk about magic and shit, but in reality, he did do all that. So that means that he was such a striking force, and his personality was so good that people like, yeah, he's a great leader, he's a strong leader, let's support him. So, that's from the start. Justinian just had that, I guess, image. And obviously he was a hard worker, he did lots of shit. Wrote laws and tried to conquer entire Roman kingdom, including the west part of the Roman that was fallen. So yeah.
To Hilderic, whom he didn't even have to personally convert and was very much dominant over. So much so, rumor was Hilderic planned to give Africa to Justinian after his death, but being ruled by civilized non-heretics was too much for the Vandals to take. So they usurped and imprisoned Hilderic, now replaced by Gelimer, who refused all of Justinian's demands to restore Hilderic, or even send him to Constantinople. Speaking of Constantinople... To understand what's to come, you must understand Justinian's reforming tendencies. Not only did he purge corruption and injustices wherever possible, but to forever making doing so simple, he assembled the best jurists the empire had to offer, led by the greatest of them, Tribonian, tasked with compiling every law, edict, and custom in the empire into a single civic code. Encoding all laws from as far as the time of Constantine, the Tetrarchy, and further back, they had done it. A single, unified, detailed account of every law in the empire for all to obey. The Corpus Juris Civilis, the body of civil law, forevermore the basis of most legal systems. This Justinianic code, as it came to be known, rustled many Jimmies, mostly heretical, pagan, secular, apostate, and unbaptized Jimmies, because it also focused on religious orthodoxy, you see. Justinian persecuted all degenerates that didn't abide by his new law code, including closing the pagan academy in Athens to eternal secularist butthurt, forcing all teachers of history, morals, and philosophy to do so through a Christian lens to maximize the veracity of their teachings. And the revised taxation system stipulated in the code was enforced by Justinian's new finance minister, John the Cappadocian. His genius coming from that, once faced with rich tax evaders, he just tortured them until they gave their share. Now Procopius would spread lies that he was corrupt and all, but who would ever pay attention to such a biased telling of history anyway? This all combined with Justinian demanding strict court etiquette for both him and his lady, together with Justinian's continuous support for the Blue faction, earned him enemies all over. Unfortunately, since the Blues won all the time, many Green fans shifted sides over the years, eventually making both sides just a bunch of violence-prone plebs. After one of the many pleb fights, Justinian ordered the leaders to be executed, and as they were hanged, 2 executions were botched, one for a Green and a Blue, both taking refuge in a church. After that, in the Hippodrome...
What the hell? That was what they didn't even die. Yeah. Justinian's code, basically, not all of it obviously, it's gonna change over time, but most of the Justinian's law is being used throughout the world. That just says something. This old of a law still being used. But yeah, and what's this about the racer thing, blues and greens? It's just stupid. Don't involve sports into the politics, man. Come on.
The angry plebs started demanding them to be pardoned. Justinian ignored the plebs as he should, but they just got angrier. So long the Greens had gone in a losing streak, their entire lives that is, that they started shouting that which they desired most. Nika, Nika, victory, victory! Soon the entire Hippodrome began shouting Nika at Justinian. But in truth, all he could hear was something like... The insufferable chanting soon made Justinian start negotiating. But nope. The plebs were already invading prisons, liberating the inmates, then setting fire to it. They set fire to everything really. Hospitals, schools, houses, apartments, the Imperial palace, improving plebs show forever.
I don't get it. It's sport, isn't it? If they're losing, isn't that their fault? I mean, the match is being rigged or something? If that's the case, what's the point of the sport at the time?
Be below disdain the baths of Zeuxippus, built by Septimius Severus and decorated by Constantine himself with statues from all over the empire of Greco-Roman heroes, was set ablaze and completely destroyed. The Great Church, once built by Constantius II, then Theodosius II, was also burned and destroyed, along with most of the center of Constantinople. Furious and saddened, Justinian asked the plebs what they wanted to stop, and they said the resignation of both John the Cappadocian and Tribonian. Now plebs didn't know how to read, much less who the tax and legal ministers were. And sure enough, Justinian soon found out many senators were feeding information, guiding and directing the rioters.
Senators
so he ordered
again.
them all to leave. Justinian then pretended to fire John and Tribonian, but as he predicted, the plebs didn't care. By now the plebs wanted a new emperor, so they dragged the nearest relative of Anastasius, ironically enough, that they could get, his nephew Hypatius. Taken into the Hippodrome, acclaimed emperor by the plebs of a golden chain and surrounded by treacherous senators gearing him up, he started to kind of ride this wave. At this sight, many bureaucrats urged Justinian to leave, to flee the city and go into hiding. But that's when Theodora, now a true Roman empress, spoke her mind. And she was all like,
«Ω, μονοποιούν θαύμα! Ποιον όνομα είπε μισέ, ο καλός ξένος? Είμαι η Θεοδώρα, η φίλη του Βυζαντίου».
What?
That is, I would rather die an empress than live as a pleb. And Justinian wholeheartedly agreed. And so he summoned the 2 generals that were around waiting redeployment, Mundus and Belisarius, plus one of his bureaucrats, Narses. For Narses, he gave the gold to go bribe off the cheap green and blue leaders. As for Belisarius, he gave him reinforcements. And make a guess what he asked him to do.
There you go.
Of the 50,000 rioting plebs present, Belisarius slaughtered 30,000 of them. For crushing the riot, he was acclaimed as Belisarius Plebicus. But surely enough, the pleb recovered.
See, I said it from the start, even the past video, I said it, that this blue and green shit, this is just gonna, you know, end up being slaughtered like that. Because it's just so stupid. I mean, why involve sport in the politics? And what they're gonna say? Yeah, we want new emperor or something. Really? What is this, democracy now? Of course he's gonna slaughter you all.
Didn't allow that to be recorded. Bringing Hypatius and the conspirators to Justinian, he had them all either executed, exiled, or their property confiscated. John and Tribonian were reinstated, and Justinian, now devoid of any popular political opposition, set forth to rebuild Constantinople and the empire to match his eternal dream. The usurpation in Africa never left his mind, and if the Vandals so wanted war with Rome, he would make it the first step of his reconquest. Now, many thought retaking Africa was impossible given how Leo failed with 100,000 men and Majorian never even got to leave the port, but Justinian knew he had Belisarius. And yeah, Belisarius was thus sent west with just 15,000 men, part of them his bucellari, starting off with 2 drunk Huns killing a soldier, and him executing them. While the Vandals were dealing with 2 revolts, one in Libya, which allowed Belisarius to resupply, and another in Sardinia, which dragged the Vandal fleet to fight it. Justinian persuaded Amalasuntha to let Belisarius use the Sicilian ports, and then he just straight up landed beside Carthage. Speaking with the once Roman citizens, Belisarius forced his mercenaries to behave as liberators and pay for everything they took. Learning of this, Gelimer killed Hilderic and marched to fight.
Damn, that is so smart by him, man. Yeah, obviously, just, plead to the people. I mean, they once were you, so they're gonna be, they'll easily be ton besides you. So this way you face less resistance, no guerrilla warfare. You just have to take out some people, some key people. You don't have to worry a lot about things, because last thing you want is kill all this, I guess, your enemies, and then also worry about the citizens of there too. That's just chaos all the way. So this was really smart by him.
Belisarius with 25,000 barbarians. For he had a plan to let Belisarius pass through the valley near Carthage's mountains of salt and flank him between it with his brother's army. But Belisarius has sent his bucellari to scout though, and them alone found and crushed the Vandal trap, killing Gelimer's brother, who, once charging in thinking his plan was working, found his brother's corpse and lamented the loss of this monstrous vile barbarian, sad that the world was now a better place. Then Belisarius showed up, destroyed his army, and Gelimer fled. As Belisarius took Carthage, Gelimer raised a new army with his other brother back from Sardinia. Sieging Carthage and cutting its water, he tried to get the Huns to change sides, which just wasn't going to happen with Belisarius around. Despite outnumbered again, Belisarius charged outside of Carthage and crashed into the Vandals several times, killing Gelimer's other brother and making the world an even better place. Belisarius then liberated Hippo, and while far too late to save St. Augustine, he got in just in time to retake all of the treasures the Vandals had taken from Rome, which itself paid for the whole campaign. Gelimer had prepared a feast in the event of his certain victory, which Belisarius had for himself as he sat on the Vandal throne. Gelimer was eventually found and captured, the last remnants of Vandal resistance crushed, Sardinia and Corsica reconquered, and all North African cities retaken. A Roman administration was put back in charge, the freed Romans cheered for their liberators, and Africa was again a province of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, after a long time, isn't it? Things are looking up for, Justinian. He's slowly trying to take every other Roman cities.
And let's not forget, Justinian had come once.
Yeah, the first, I think, the music we've seen like that he created about Carthage was the salting of the Carthage. That was just epic. Even by now, I don't think I've seen any other like that. That was so good, so timely, and the way he made it, that was so awesome.
Step closer to his dream, and Belisarius Plebicus Vandalicus to an immortal legacy. Justinian let him choose to either stay and govern Africa or return home, and he chose the latter. For such a magnificent Roman victory, Justinian rewarded Belisarius with the right of all victorious Romans, the first triumph in ages. To prove his humility, Belisarius marched his triumph on foot, dragging the imprisoned Gelimer and all the wealth retaken from Africa. At Justinian's side, Gelimer quoted some gibberish and was told to shut his barbarian mouth. Justinian had not been idle during it all, using Anastasius's gold to rebuild Constantinople better and grander than ever before. But his greatest project was the reconstruction of the city's great church. He gave the builders all the money they needed, ordering the greatest church of all time built as fast as possible. In only 5 years, he got his wish, with the construction of the greatest church in history, the Shrine of the Holy Wisdom of God, shortened to Holy Wisdom, in Greek, Hagia Sophia. Entering the church for the first time.
Alright, is this around anymore, or is this destroyed? Because this is not just something people really mistakes what emperors and kings do. They think it's just lavish lifestyle, and it is that, but they think they just do whatever the fuck they want. That's not it. There are lots of strategies to that thing. I think at the time, religion was such a strong thing in people's mind. That creating a massive church like this is a great morale booster, is great economical driver. So in this sense, people's economy would rise. People become more productive. It's just good thing to invest in. Nowadays there's a saying, if you want to grow economy, build roads, hospitals, schools. This was at the time equivalent to that. So this is not just something like he just wanted a church so he made a church. No, if anything, kings don't like religions, because that's just competition. Kings want themselves to be worshipped. But they do this, things like this. They know because, first of all, people will love him. Approval will go high. Like I said, economy will rise. People's morale will be high. So yeah.
Justinian said aloud, "Solomon, I have outdone you. Just ask Titus." While Justinian was busy building, his sister Vigilantia the Younger was busy breeding, giving the emperor 2 nephews, Justin and Marcellus, plus Projecta, who due to being beautiful and the emperor's niece was a magnet for usurpers empire-wide. But now history focuses on Italy, as is so often used to, with the Goths growing to despise Roman-friendly Amalasuntha, taking her son to be raised a proper bloodthirsty barbarian, so much so he died a young man. Now rumors were abound that Amalasuntha planned to give Italy to Justinian, and even when she appealed to her cousin Theodahad for help, he betrayed, killed, and usurped her. This prompted one of the once Romans under Gothic rule, Liberius, to defect back to the empire and inform Justinian what happened. All the emperor had to do was look at Belisarius and he knew what to do. For too long the Roman Empire had been robbed of its home, of its birthplace. With the same skill it had conquered the world, the horrors of the 5th century would be overturned. And so,
Justinian has a great weapon in his side, isn't it, Belisarius? Just look at him, just go and do it, and he just does it.
and ordered Belisarius to retake Rome for its empire. With only a little
he
more
didn't
than
go postal,
7,000 men,
it's just Belisarius. Justinian didn't go himself.
Belisarius sailed through the west and seized almost all of southern Italy, while Mundus was sent to reconquer Dalmatia. The Goths did push them back, but he retook it at the cost of his life, with reinforcements securing it. The reconquest of Italy was going so fast, Theodahad almost just gave it all up for peace. But then the mercenaries in Africa revolted, killing his momentum and forcing Belisarius to deal with it. Justinian soon replaced him in the task with his cousin and heir, Germanus, who crushed the rebellion, letting Belisarius to go back to Italy. And now on his way lay Naples, almost impossible to siege given how he had spread out his forces to secure the south. But as an Isaurian mercenary wandered about an aqueduct, he found the most curious thing. Dragging Belisarius to see it, it was a waterway that led straight into the city. Belisarius then ordered it widened, and by the next day, the city was taken. But Theodahad by then had been usurped by the new Gothic king, Vidiges, who retreated with his forces north. Indeed, in fear of Belisarius, the Goths had left Rome alone, and with a papal invitation into the Eternal City, Belisarius marched there. After decades of barbarian tyranny, Rome was finally back under Roman rule. Well, what was left of it anyway? After the fall of the West, the economic destruction and multiple sackings, Rome was now a shadow of its former self. Now almost entirely ruins and abandoned houses from a bygone age, populated only by a few tens of thousands of weak, miserable plebs. How Augustus would have wept. Vidiges, though, had gathered his Gothic hordes.
Yeah, we can always rebuild it. Justinian didn't go by himself, so, I just assume since the start of Roman times that all emperors are great warriors. Is Justinian great warrior or he's just great leader? When it comes to wars, he just sends his generals like Belisarius.
and was set on taking Rome once more. Belisarius, however, was set on fighting for every inch of the Aurelian walls, digging a huge moat around it. And even when the aqueducts were blocked, Belisarius had a mill built between two boats on the Tiber, ensuring grain could still be made into bread and feed everyone. But before the Goths fully sieged Rome, Belisarius took his Bucellari to scout the Tiber crossing. On their way, they were ambushed by a huge Gothic force who recognized Belisarius' white-faced horse and focused on him. Shot, slashed, and hit all over, Belisarius slaughtered his way out, killing many Goths at the cost of his armor and being drenched in blood. Being pursued back to Rome, the soldiers at the gates didn't recognize Belisarius with the helmet, injuries, and blood. Given only seconds to react, Belisarius ordered a countercharge at the far bigger Gothic cavalry, and he did it with such ferocity the soldiers realized that, yeah, that was Belisarius. Finally let in, he commended the soldiers for their caution, and as the Goths tried fucking with the Tiber's mill by
I thought the guards are gonna get fucked here, but no, it's like, yeah, good thing you were cautious. I'm out of breath, I'm bloody, but yeah, good thing you're cautious. Where's my tent now? I'm gonna go rest. Man, come on, man, that's just stupid. How do you not recognize him? What, he looked the same as everybody else? There's no difference between him and, these enemies? Come on. And I mean, I don't care how bloody he is. I'm pretty sure his armors and helmets, designs and things would tell you that he's... Okay, I guess they were thinking that some German or something, just wore his armor trying to get in or something. That could be it.
Throwing corpses in the water, Belisarius set up a chain across the river to catch all debris. Later the Goths tried pulling up some siege towers on the walls. The animals were killed and the siege towers disabled. Belisarius then began hiring some locals into the army, make them proper Romans again. And with the new reinforcements from Justinian, he started launching several Bucellari raids, scattering the Goths and destroying their camps. Vidigis got so mad he ordered all the senators he had taken hostage in Ravenna to be slaughtered. Little did he know that no one really cared about the senators anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, senators? They would not care about senators, come on.
Finally. But one day, the plebs he conscripted disobeyed orders and just went to loot the Gothic camp. Getting all attacked, Belisarius once again had to work his magic to minimize losses. During the siege, Belisarius received orders from Theodora to substitute the current Gothic appointed pope, Silverius, with the one she fought was a Monophysite ally, Vigilius, who was just pretending to get her support. And after Silverius was caught conspiring with senators and Goths, Belisarius exiled the former and elevated the latter. Procopius would put to page further and further lies to smear Belisarius, but he made sure to keep such lies in his Book of Lies, awaiting for a better chance to demean him in the future. Sick of fighting, Vidigis begged the Romans to surrender, and Belisarius replied,
"Fuck off. As for Rome, moreover, which we have captured, in holding it we hold nothing which belongs to others. But it was you who trespassed upon this city in former times, though it did not belong to you at all. And now you have given it back, however unwillingly, to its ancient possessors. And whoever of you has hopes of setting foot in Rome without a fight is mistaken in his judgment. For as long as Belisarius lives, it is impossible for him to relinquish this city."
But the siege went on and on. The mills couldn't produce enough bread, mill sausage became the standard, the plebs began plebbing, but as the Bucellari and Huns kept wrecking the Goths, Vidigis sued for a truce. During it, thousands of more reinforcements were sent by Justinian, led by Vitalian's nephew, John, proof that not all nephews of great Romans were great Romans themselves. Vidigis then broke the truce because, of course, attacking the Tiber and miserably failing, with Vidigis retreating back through the long-repaired Milvian bridge, getting a farewell gift by having half of his horde slaughtered before he crossed. Belisarius then gave John 2,000 Bucellari to push north and leave no forts behind. John then went northeast.
Whether it's the Napoleon time or any time, bridges are always critical. You have to time it right, otherwise your army gets slaughtered.
Left all forts behind and took a city near Ravenna. Belisarius told him to return, lest he be encircled by Goths, but John refused, and he was encircled by Goths. It was then that 7,000 more reinforcements arrived from the east, led by Narses. Belisarius planned to just leave the insubordinate John to his fate and advance north given the Gothic numbers, but Narses remembered him of the 2,000 invaluable Bucellari with him. Belisarius insisted on his position, but Narses didn't relent because of a literal technicality. So, again, Belisarius went to work his magic before his army tore apart. As the Goths
all in Italy shall obey Belisarius' orders, as is in interest of the empire. I mean, come on, man. That sentence alone is contradictory. You say, obey Belisarius, but if it's in the interest of the empire, who's gonna decide what's in the interest of the empire? That just primes people to ignore Belisarius, just saying that it's not in the interest of the empire.
Again, Belisarius went to work his magic before his army tore apart. As the Goths starved John to death, they were completely surrounded on all sides by a gigantic Roman army, with several campfires seen from the distance and a large navy on the coast. Terrified, the Goths lifted the siege and fled to Ravenna. Belisarius then told his men to end the charade, having used a series of tricks to pretend having a larger army. Being saved from certain death, John expressed his most sincere...
Oh god, this is so good. This is such a good general, this Belisarius. He literally pretended to have a large army. God damn, it worked.
...gratitude to Narses. As Belisarius liberated more and more of Italy, Mediolanum revolted to his side and begged for a garrison to defend it. Belisarius could spare around 1,000 men, but other cities asked for garrisons as well, so only about 300 actually got there. The Franks, on the other hand, having subjugated the Burgundians and siding with the Goths, gave them 10,000 Burgundians to go help siege Mediolanum. Belisarius then urgently ordered the nearby John to go rush there and save the city, but he refused, saying he only took orders from Narses. Belisarius then wrote to Narses, who agreed with the orders, and when John read them, he caught a mild fever and delayed his march. Meanwhile, Mediolanum's guard had all starved to death, with the survivors saying they would open the gates if only the barbarians spared the city's population.
I don't understand this. Why did Justinian send him Belisarius there without giving him the full power? That is not how chain of command works when you are at the war. This is just a bullshit.
Mediolanum was almost completely destroyed. The entire population either killed, raped, or enslaved.
Alright, am I not understanding the reference? What is this here? What is this signing thing?
All the wealth stolen and most buildings burned down. The Franks themselves would invade, but North Italy had been so razed and ruined they couldn't sustain their horde, and returned. As the devastation spread north, Belisarius reported it all.
Why are Franks trying to get in this accent? They want to go fight the Romans? I mean, I get it. Romans, the Western Roman Empire fell, so everybody thinks Romans are nothing. Clearly, they would know about the Byzantians, like they are still powerful right now.
To Justinian, who got so mad he recalled Narses from Italy and explicitly wrote back that Belisarius and Belisarius alone was the only authority in Italy. All this while desperate Vidigis tried one of his last tricks, sending envoys to Khosrau, telling him to break the eternal peace now that most of Rome's legions and generals were in Italy. Having almost completely taken the north, Belisarius then cornered Vidigis in Ravenna, eager to end the war with total victory. But Justinian had caught wind of Vidigis' envoys to Khosrau. Not really. He just knew the barbarians would backstab him sooner or later. So as Belisarius was about to take Ravenna, orders came for him to make a compromise treaty with the Goths. As a not-so-subtle jab at John, he said he would only do it if Justinian himself signed it. Not because of insubordination, but just to buy enough time to show that Ravenna was about to fall. He didn't even have to wait for that, cause Vidigis came up with the last of his tricks, proposing Belisarius peace through reviving the Western Roman Empire, with Belisarius as the new Western Roman Emperor, and the Goths as his loyal guardians of Italy, only he betrayed Justinian. And yeah, Belisarius told Vidigis he was all for it. The Goths then opened the gates, let Belisarius in, and he killed Vidigis, freed Amalasuintha's daughter, Matasuintha, took back all the wealth they had stolen from Italy, and proclaimed Ravenna reconquered in the name of Justinian. Vidigis would be sent to...
Yeah, Belisarius is a really sifty character. I mean, his tactics, his basic mindset is whatever works. As far as, we've seen all this thing, it makes sense. Whatever works. He literally, started lots of, campfires to tell them that there is lots of army, but it wasn't. Just so they would run away. So he's like, you're gonna let me in if I just say yes? Yeah, I'm gonna betray Justinian. Went in and just screw them over. This is so good.
Constantinople to die in captivity, Matasuintha would be set to marry Germanus, and most important of all, after years of fierce campaign, Italy, the home province where it all began, had been freed from barbarian tyranny. In his bliss, Justinian would ask Belisarius for details, a full report of his exploits in Italy. Belisarius would make a proud smile, and in the honor of Stilicho, Aetius, Majorian, and so many more, let him see the casualties.
Yeah, this is just so awesome. You know, Belisarius is a great general. His tactics are awesome. You know, Justinian the Great, having him at his right hand man, that's just incredible. They took Western Roman Empire again. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but this is just great. Finally, Rome is whole again. Justinian, like I said, I remember him because I heard lots of, even I know nothing about Byzantium Empire. I'm just reacting to it now. I'm learning as I go on. The only thing I knew about is there was once an emperor called Justinian who wrote lots of laws and conquered lots of land, and he was he did lots of things in short time. I knew that. So obviously he had his right hand man was just great. That was the case. I thought Justinian would go by himself, but I think he's not the warrior kind. He's just the leader kind. His general is more of a warrior kind, I think. That could be it. Alright people, this is I think I'm going to do in 2 parts because it's 45 minutes video. If I react to whole, it's going to take way over an hour. So I'm going to do it in 2 parts. This is the first part. I'll upload the second part soon too. I have to go right now. So yeah, so far this is just awesome. Unbiased history is just getting better. The Doherty's style is improving. Yeah, his explaining style is also improving. It's usually it's hard to pay attention to what he's saying. He's a bit too fast even when he's slowed down, but in this he's even better. So I love how he's improving. His channel is improving. He has 110,000 subscribers by now. So yeah, this is just going to be fun. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the Rick Sunday. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast for the playlist. Check out the end cards. And yeah, I'll see you next time.